If you thought things were already bad in Victoria, well, get a load of this headline from today's Herald Sun newspaper. The article says, staff dealing with the new Victorian Treasurer, Jaclyn Symes, told to stop using economic terms. According to government insiders, the woman responsible for one of Australia's largest economies simply doesn't understand economic terms and so has asked staff, please don't use words I don't understand. To be honest, while we're having a bit of a giggle at this, I don't think she should feel that bad because her predecessor, Tim Pallas, who left the state with almost $180 billion worth of debt, he didn't understand basic economic terms either, like, budget, surplus, savings. And it's not as hard as Jaclyn Symes probably imagines. I think if she just learned 3 words, she would pretty much have a grasp of Victoria's finances. Bankrupt, what's the other 3? Bankrupt.
How would I know, James? You're the one telling the story.
And they all start with B's, Caleb. Bankrupt, broke, and basket case.
There you go.
Well done. Those 3 words, you
Beautiful.
understand the situation in Victoria. But honestly, it's pretty dire straight when you've got the Treasurer saying, please don't use economic terms, I just don't understand them. She had a rough gig from the beginning because when Tim Pallas resigned in December last year, nobody really wanted the job. Ben Carroll, who's now the Deputy Premier, he had formally touted as wanting the Treasurer's job, but he said, no, I don't want to touch it. And so it was given to Jaclyn Symes, who has a background bereft of any economic experience. She's got a law degree, then she went into union management, then went into political staffing and then became a politician. So she's got no background at all. But when she was announced as the Treasurer, they overcame the problem that she really has no economic experience with this, Liz. She's the first female Treasurer of Victoria. So diversity is our strength. You don't have to know economics or economic terms. She's the first woman. So everything's going to be okay.
So never mind, Victoria, that your state debt is set in 2028, just 3.5 short years away, in June of 2028, to exceed $187 billion, which would make it the largest state debt in our entire nation's history. Don't worry about it. You've got your first female Treasurer. Well done, you. Put that gold star on your wall. But here's an idea for Jaclyn Symes. Now that you're Treasurer, how about you learn the terms? For crying out loud, if I were to take this poison chalice and I were to be so aware of how naturally inept I am in this particular area, I would be desperately paddling underwater. I would be Googling every single one of the terms I didn't understand and learning them. How on earth is this woman going to do a presser in financial lingo if you don't understand? And how sophisticated are these terms that we're talking about? Are we talking about deficit, surplus? Wait, which one's the good one? Which is the one that we want? Is it the deficit or the surplus? But this is what, exactly as you said, this is what DEI does. You mean to tell me in the parliamentary party, the Labor parliamentary party in Victoria, they didn't have someone with just a bit more of a background in economics, or not even a background in economics, but someone who's familiar with the terms? And to be honest, for someone who's been an MP for a decade, I don't think there's an excuse to not be across a bit of economic lingo.
I think, Caleb, the problem is if you had a background in economics, you would know this is not a job that I want.
Well,
so you can stay right away from it.
That's a very good point, because being the Treasurer of Victoria is much like being the health minister in any other state, right? It's like, OK, we'll put someone in there who we're willing to sacrifice because we know that at some point they're going to come a cropper. Much the same with child protection. If you're made the child protection minister, there is a target on your back because something is going to go wrong at some point and you're going to have to pay the price for it. And so it is with being the Treasurer of Victoria. But when you gave us her employment history before, you missed out one vital thing, which was that when she got out of university, she didn't do anything with her law degree. She went and became a carer for people with intellectual disabilities. And that's not to make fun of the fact she did the work. It's very worthy work. But there is at no point in her employment history anything that suggests she's ever balanced a budget or had to look after a budget or has looked after anything to do with the business, to be perfectly frank. As you said, she got the degree, she didn't use it, she went off and became a unionist, then she became an advisor first to the Deputy Premier Rob Hulls at the time, and then, and this is where it all went really wrong, she became a senior advisor to Daniel Andrews when he was the leader of the opposition. So, you know, she has come from the school of Daniel Andrews, and she still doesn't understand economics. The fact that you can get a position like that in politics with no background, no expertise, no knowledge, to the point where you don't even understand the basic terms that come with the portfolio, and we don't see anything wrong with that, is insane. Like, we are in a position where we find probably the most unqualified people to do some of the most difficult and important jobs in the country, and we go, it's all good, nothing to worry about.
I should have mentioned there are two terms that she evidently is very familiar with: tax and spend.
She
knows those.
Well, she's got the basics down. What are we complaining about?
Well,
Genuinely, what are Victorians paying for when you've got a treasurer who can't treasury?
Yeah, well,
Nothing.
They're paying for someone to sit around and make a lot of money.
It costs nothing to Google
job.
terms and learn the meanings and just be like, well, now I'm across the lingo.
I mean, learning on the job is actually genuinely good for a lot of people when they come out of university, right? They go, oh, hell, why did I do 4 years of that degree? I've learned more in my 6 months on the job than I did in the degree. But I reckon one exception to that is probably being the Treasurer of Victoria.